Hi guys, and welcome back to episode 18 of the In the Hub podcast, brought to you by Playbox Technology UK. We're kicking off season 2 with a fantastic episode where we speak to Paul Robson, owner and managing director of Medialease. Paul has been involved with financing in the broadcasting industry for nearly 30 years and also holds the position of trustee within Backup, the technical entertainment charity. If you do enjoy this episode, don't forget to give us a rating on Apple Podcasts or drop us a follow over on Spotify. So Paul, welcome to the In the Hub podcast. How are you today?
Thank you, I'm good. The sun was shining. It's now just a bit grey.
Yeah, it's looking very gloomy.
Typical of our year.
Well. Yeah, it sums up this year, doesn't it? So Paul, I think we'll just get straight into the questions then, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
Awesome. So Paul, how did you get started in the broadcasting industry?
I came across it not particularly by accident. It was a bit by design, but the accidental way was that I was working in asset finance. I'd actually been selling capital equipment for a number of years since I started work, high value capital equipment. And I ended up financing some very high value capital equipment and learned the process of asset finance and leasing there. And I just decided I didn't want to do it in an industry that I wasn't passionate about in any way. I didn't care about coal mines and quarrying. It really didn't interest me, and I didn't particularly ingratiate myself to the people or them to me. So it's just a job. And I thought I really like the job that I do, but I need to do it in an industry that I've got a passion about. So at that time, I'd been involved with a moderately successful rock band, and we'd spent quite a bit of time in recording studios. And I'd always wanted to be more involved in that process in recording studio, being engineered in the producer. And clearly that wasn't going to happen because I'd not done anything about changing my career. So I decided I want to do it in something more akin to recording studios and that kind of market. And I actually stumbled across a box ad in a Daily Telegraph or one of those proper newspapers and responded, and it turned out to be a company that doesn't really exist anymore, but a company that was doing leasing asset finance in this sector, and particularly in television and broadcast and post-production, as well as obviously recording studio equipment and such like, and VFX. So that's how I came about working for them for a couple of years. Then I went on to work for a part of a big rental company that doesn't exist anymore, big camera rental company that doesn't exist anymore, back in the late 90s, and then decided to set up Medialease myself in early noughties due to circumstantial changes within the environment I was working. And I thought, I'll go and do this myself. And that's how I came to start. And it all started in the broadcast space, rather than other areas that we're involved in now.
Yeah, so quite an exciting start then, actually. Would you be able to tell us what rock band it was, or is that quite secretive?
Yeah, a band called Terrorvision. So you may have come across them in your youth, but still going. I keep reforming and stopping reforming, but they're still, the last 5 years they've been playing gigs every year, so they're back on the circuit and doing all right. It's more fun now than it was back then. It was proper, signed artists to EMI and trying to make a go of it and doing quite well. But now it's just a bit of fun.
Yeah, sounds really good, Paul. So I guess you've already kind of touched on this, but were you always going to focus your work then within broadcasting and broadcast equipment and AV? I
felt early on that going to trade shows such as IBC, that there was a requirement to understand a little bit about the kit, not just going, well, I don't understand what it does or anything about it, but yeah, I kind of recognise what the label says and I can finance one of them. But I felt like you needed to know something about, not in detail what the kit does, but where it relates to the rest of the picture. So, you talk about a piece of a vision mixer, and you need to understand where that relates into the production remit. So, and I do enjoy a trade show. Always did enjoy meeting people. Always did enjoy seeing familiar faces. So I do, and I still love a trade show now, although we're obviously not doing them. So it became quite apparent to me that I've stumbled across this industry that is very personable. People are extremely friendly, very willing to invite you into their building and involve you in what they're doing, and particularly show you around their facility. So it suited me as a person to be involved in financing equipment where there was a personable approach to the situation, not just, well, I'll take anybody's money. It was more relationship building, which I quite liked. And I quickly realised that in broadcast, and particularly in post-production, this year's colour is purple, next year's colour's yellow, and everybody needs to have a yellow one now. The purple one's out of date, mate. I need a yellow one, and I need 12 yellow ones. So that worked very well for me, because it was like, yeah, you'll definitely need the yellow one now. That's definitely the one you need.
It's so true.
In that sense, I did enjoy the first couple of years, particularly learning about how broadcast work, post-production. As I say, particularly, I got heavily involved in the post-production end of broadcast, and so it grew, and so my education of the broadcast market grew.
Yeah, you touched on it there. It's I'm relatively new to the industry myself, only about a year and a half now, and it's that personal touch that really shocked me at the start. Because you'll be in industries where it's very transactional, it's just touch and go type thing.
Yeah.
But in this industry, it really is all about the people, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's even more so in the rock and roll side of our business. We have two fundamental parts to our business: broadcast, post-production, television, film related, and then the live events, which is West End theatre shows, big theatrical shows with a lot of kit, and gigs and festivals. And they are incredibly personable, those people. They're a lot of them are friends. They're as much friends of mine as they are loads of other people, and it's a real community spirit, which I really like. It's really great to see that still existing out there in business.
For anyone who might not have heard of you guys and might not know, could you give us a brief history behind Medialease and what kind of services do you guys provide?
We're an FCA regulated finance leasing company, so we lend on our own funds as well as a traditional broker. So, and that depends on the circumstances as to whether we'll lend our own money to the opportunity or whether we'll broker it. But by and large, majority is brokered for one reason or other. Usually deal size is a little bit too rich for us in terms of the size of the deal, but it's also rate. Our rates are a lot racier rates than they are for most of our major customers who expect a service from us and expect us to provide a decent rate. So we have been going nearly 20 years, actually, 18 plus years, and as I say, started out in the broadcast space and grew from there into other areas. We are all about servicing the customer. So we are a broker, we're a financial introducer. We have a big panel of lenders who we can go to, and we're all about what is the best structured deal. Not always rate, although that is a lead factor in what you're here to do, is to find the best deal. But sometimes it's not about the best rate. Sometimes it's about a customer specifically wanting certain terms or wanting to avoid having to give his personal guarantees because he doesn't feel he should have to give them anymore now that his company's been trading 12 months, let's say. So, or it could be, I don't want to put a deposit down, but I want a very long term. So sometimes you trade off one aspect to gain on the other aspect. And it's a question of knowing the customers, knowing a little bit about the kit, as I said earlier, but knowing your banks and knowing which funder likes what kit or what industry or what package they can do. So it's very much, I always say we've got a relationship with the suppliers who introduce us to the new customers that we're not familiar with. We've got a relationship with our customers, because we are a big part of our business is 70% of our customers are ongoing customers. Once they've been referred, we try and maintain that customer. And then we've got a relationship with the banks, because we sit very much in the middle of that triangle. So you've got a bank looking for you to provide them with opportunities to lend, suppliers looking to fulfill their purchase orders that they've got from customers, and obviously the customer is the main customer, because he's the guy that's signing the document to say, I'll pay you back over 36 months. And we very much see that it's a service-based company, and that we have to have that ability to say, well, Paul Robson's not around, but you don't need Paul Robson to be around, because Emma's going to deal with it, Nick's going to deal with it, Ali's going to deal with it. And a lot of the customers that used to just call me don't now no longer contact me. They go straight to somebody in the office, which I think is great. They've got the trust that they can always call me, always, but they trust the person they're dealing with back in the office enough to say, well, I'll just contact them. So very much triangle relationship, very much service driven, very much customer focused is our aim. And as I say, we finance this kit and we don't charge the customer a penny. It's unbelievable how generous we are. But no, we get paid a fee by the introducing bank when we complete the deal.
Yeah, it sounds like a winning formula, to be fair, Paul. And it seems like you're having a great time as well with it. So
yeah, we do enjoy it. 80% of our work is brokered. 20% is our own funds now.
Yeah. No, it sounds really good. So what are the most kind of common forms of financing that you guys provide to your customers, and how does it help them out?
There's 2 forms of financing, 3 if you want to be that are main forms of financing. There's hire purchase, traditional HP, and finance lease. We do some loans, particularly at the minute with this product that's available short term at the minute because of the coronavirus, which is the Coronavirus Business Interruption Loan Scheme, CBILS as it's known. And we do fund a number of opportunities on CBILS at the minute, but that will disappear during the course of the spring coming up. And that can be a loan or it can be for asset finance, but traditionally most of our work is hire purchase, HP, so you own it at the end of the 3 years automatically, 4 years, 5 years, whatever it is, or finance lease where it's a very, very similar product, looked at exactly the same way, but there's a slightly different mechanism for ownership at the end. And occasionally, very occasionally, we have to do a finance rental, a bit like you might have your car on finance. So, the car value is, say, 40 grand, you're paying it back at 500 quid a month, and you're going, hang on, 500 quid a month times 48 months doesn't come to 40 grand. It doesn't go anywhere near it. That's where there's a part of that funding where it's not paid for. It's what we call a balloon rental or a chuck the car back at the dealer.
Yes.
We offer that service on certain bits of kit. It's very kit specific, and the customer needs to be a decent, strong enough customer to merit wanting to do that funding, but we do it, and we'll carry the RV, the residual value risk at the end.
I know you touched on this a little bit earlier. It's about understanding what the tech does and what you're selling, actually, how that will fit into people's workflows and stuff like that. But how important is it to completely and fully understand and grasp all of the nuances of an industry before offering services like asset financing?
It's a very interesting question. You don't need, at the outset, you don't need to know everything about the kit and the technology, but you do need to understand your customer and how he's using that kit. So, for example, if I decided today that I'm going to go and set up a dentistry finance division, the obvious thing to do is to find somebody who's already financing dentistry equipment and say, come and work for Medialease and we'll set up a new division. However, let's just assume that I decide to do it myself because this market is quiet. I would have to first understand what the customer wants from me. What does he want? 12 months lease? Does he want off balance sheet? Everything's off balance sheet. Everything's rented. Does he want 5-year financing because he doesn't touch the equipment for at least 10 years? What's the typical deal value? What's the typical kind of requirements of the customer? And that's where you need to start. And then from there, you obviously need to understand a bit more about the technology and the key brands. I always think it's important to identify good, better, best. And you can say that these are good assets. They make a perfectly good product, that company. These make a much better product. These make the best products. And that's something I've always wanted to find out at trade shows, is who's providing the best kit and the better kit and the good kit.
And I hate to bring it up, Paul, but how has COVID-19 affected the work that you guys do? How have you guys adapted at Medialease?
I knew pretty damn quick in March that this was going to be horrendous for 2020, and adapted fairly quickly in terms of altering the way workflow, working from home, more laptop driven rather than desktop driven, and getting things to be onto remote servers rather than office-based servers. So that was quite quick. But I realised that our rock and roll touring customers and festival-going deals that we do and theatre were dead. They're going to be dead for some time. I must admit, I, like many, thought it would be October, November, and we'd start to see some signs of recovery, which would rule out all the summer festivals, but pantomime would definitely be happening in December, no question about it. And of course, I got that wrong, and here we are now in a almost, some might say, a worse situation than we were back in the summer. And I don't think there'll be any festivals this summer. Maybe September, maybe there might be some work going on in August, September, but I think the early stage, the first 6 months of this year, you can forget, because there won't be insurance to cover the event. So that has affected a lot of our clients. And the biggest challenge we had in all of this was going back to April and particularly May, June, when the customers then started realising, sugar, we really need some help. We've got all these repayments and all these leases, and we need to do something about this. We need to basically get some holidays from these leasing companies. Otherwise, we're going to be skint. So we had a mass of work to do in the spring of last year, trying to get as much help for the clients as we could with the banks, who were in turmoil themselves, because they were taking people from paying deals out and looking after deals and inputting deals to saying, there are no deals to pay out, there are no deals to input. You've got to basically get involved in looking at what help we're going to give to these customers. And some banks were more helpful than others. But we were central to that. I wouldn't say negotiation, but we were central to that help of the customer calling up Medialease and saying, I need your help. Yeah, of course we will. Yeah, just you need to send us some information. You need to tell us what you're planning to do about COVID-19, how you're going to protect your business, and we will get you as much help as we can. And every 3 months we have to do that, because every 3 months the banks go, right, 3 months are up, what's happening now, and reassess it. So that was quite, in some ways, stressful back in April, May, trying to get on top of that. But it's a lot easier now.
Paul, I wanted to slightly skew off a bit, but I just wanted to chat about Backup, which is a charity that you're involved with that provides support for technical professionals within the broadcasting and media industry.
Yes.
So what is your exact role within Backup, and how does Backup help these professionals in our industry?
Thank you for raising it. I'm a trustee of the charity. There are 9 of us trustees of the charity, looking after the funds that we've raised. And there are a number of ways we've raised funds through events. We were doing, obviously it didn't happen last year, unfortunately, and may not happen this year, but we were doing a number of events which raised tens of thousands of pounds each, hopefully, to put into the pot. And what Backup does, it's the Backup is designed to support those people that you don't see. So the guys that are rigging the shows, the guys that are putting the lights up, the guys that are climbing the truss in the theatre to make sure that the show is seen and they're not heard. Even in television land, there's a lot of people, technical crew in the television market, not just the live events market, who fall on hard times. They may have a personal tragedy which prevents them from working. Ill health is a classic one, which prevents them from working for quite some time. They may have a serious or a terminal illness. We have many cases of people coming to us terminally ill, worrying about how they're going to pay for their own funeral. Yeah. And simple stuff of, simple living expenses of mortgage, and how am I going to pay the bills and put money on the table for my family. And that is where Backup is there to help. So you can make an application to the charity to say, you've got to be working within the events industry, within the industry it's all on the website, but you've got to be working in that space for a minimum of 2 years. I think it was 5, but I think we brought it down. And then you can make an application to say, I need help. We'll ask you, why do you need the help? How much do you need? And we try to help many people with a small amounts of money. That couple of thousand here, a couple of thousand there, rather than massive contributions for 6 months. And we have been incredibly fortunate this year. with the generosity of the British public and international people, companies have given very generously to the charity. We were very fortunate with a number of big named artists who decided to do lockdown gigs. Niall Horan, for example, One Direction, he did a massive gig at the Royal Albert Hall and raised a fortune and split that between 3 or 4 charities who all did extremely well out of it. Backup being one. We're ever so grateful to that. But there's many other artists that are doing their bit. There's many guys involved in Backup, and We Make Events is a similar charity which is Backup is helping, which are all contributing to increase our funds so that we can give to help people. And now is no better time than now in terms of what help is required.
Yes, 100%. I think it's absolutely fantastic what you guys are doing, and it's very much obviously these people that sometimes get taken for granted, really behind the scenes, and they really make these productions. It is very much designed to say you'll never hear us, you'll never see us, but without us, the show. Well, I'm not including me in that. I'm talking about these beneficiaries of the charity. Without them doing their thing, that often we don't even see. The show wouldn't happen. No, 100%. That's what we're here to support. I completely agree. So I think I'll be watching closely how Backup progresses and what you guys get up to, and I can't wait to see what happens. I think it's a brilliant cause. Thank you. So Paul, this is a question we tend to ask at the end of every episode, and we usually ask the guest to try and keep it to one word if possible. And you can obviously go on and expand on the answer afterwards. But what do you see as the future for the broadcasting and media industry as a whole? One word. I'll take as long as you need as well, Paul. Well, I just say that my outlook is always positive. I've always naturally been a positive outlook person most of the time, obviously not all of the time. And I would say, if I could use 2 words, I'd say remote production. But if I can use one word, I would say internet. I like it, Paul. I think it's all being driven. That a lot of the IT that we see in the IT world has come into the broadcast world and is becoming more and more internet based. So internet would be my word. Or, as I'm from Yorkshire, Tinternet. Love it. Yeah, it's definitely more a switch from the pressing buttons and fiddling with knobs and stuff like that to the graphic interfaces and all sorts, isn't it? And I think even with trade shows as well going virtual this year and online marketing activities as well, I think 100% in the grand scope of things. I think internet. That's all you can say about it, really. I think that's brilliant. Tinternet. Tinternet. You'll have to teach me that, Paul. So just to finish on then, Paul, are there any exciting projects in the pipeline for Medialease or Backup that you can tell us about? We're helping a lot of venues, sports venues, stadiums, motor racing companies to develop their services at the minute. So stadiums, for example, a lot of them are obviously dark at the minute, not doing anything. So we're upgrading audio, we're upgrading LED screens, we're upgrading lighting systems. In the motor racing fraternity, we're building new trucks. We're turning them into a more remote production. I was talking to a big client the other day who wants to spend a small fortune making their productions much more remote. So they'll still have cameras at each event, but rather than sending 100 people, 200 people to an event to do the production and beam it from the event, they want to send everything back to their base in the UK and obviously beam it out from there. So the production is based in the UK, wherever the cameras are and the event is. And that's the exciting thing I like. I like the fact that we are moving to this remote production world and new investment and new opportunities there. And also we've had a massive leap in the green screen technology is going to be a thing of the past. We're now funding this XR virtual reality space. So there's the LED screen, which we finance a lot of, is being used as a landscape behind the presenter. And that could change obviously on a computer click. And the presenter is within the virtual space. That's the key difference. They are that as the presenter moves, the background moves
in relation to the presenter or the object, as it were. So that's very exciting and beyond me technically, just beyond my understanding of how they can make it work. But it's very effective, I've got to say. Onwards and upwards. We're not having a bad. Despite COVID destroying many of our customers' businesses, not hopefully not to the extent that they go bust, but a lot of businesses severely depleted. Medialease, we've been quite resourceful. We've found work in new areas. We're connected to our clients, and they've found new work in new areas, so we've helped them. So we're probably 30% down, no more than 40% down on last year, and I'm happy with that. I've got to say, I'm very happy that we're only 30% down, given what could have happened.
So, Paul, how can people get in touch with you, Medialease or Backup, and find out more about what you guys are up to?
Come through me in the first instance if you like. It's easier. We are Medialease.com is the domain, and there's a load of special offers on there for various suppliers. There's loads of case studies there on what we do and how things are at Medialease. So have a read of Medialease.com, or you can contact me, paul@media.lease, and I will help you myself, or I'll direct you to the right person. So it's paul@media.lease, nothing else, or its domain is www.medialease.com.
Sounds brilliant, Paul. So I think that's absolutely everything. If there's anything you wanted to add, now's your chance.
No, I'm good. Thanks, Neil. Thanks very much.
It sounds really good then.